There you are. Hi. Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. And it's Monday. And the last day of March.
Tis too. The first quarter of the year is over.
And tomorrow, being April Fool's Day, means you're going to be swamped by bad attempts to fool you. So we won't be doing any of that here because guess what? We don't have a show tomorrow. So it's Tuesday. So we won't fuck you around. You can always trust in us. You know, we're dependable.
Yeah.
No. How are you?
It's this time in radio where our contracts would be renewed.
Oh, God, I remember that. Yeah. Speaking a bit of nostalgia, I saw Fresh and Roger Good and Mikasa and a whole lot of people I haven't seen for ages this weekend, which was lots of fun.
On a ship.
I accepted an invite back in November to go on this thing. It was Mikasa's friendship.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, very clever. And it was actually really fun. I mean, I don't like being on a ship usually, but this was cool. And there were a lot of people there that I hadn't seen in ages, which was lovely. Laughed a lot, met lots of cool people, met lots of very weird people.
Mm-hmm.
And look, I was glad to be back on dry land, but it was fun.
Was it the one that just stays along the coast?
Yeah, it doesn't go anywhere.
That one you don't get seasick.
You just go,
but yeah, that one's okay.
No, but I didn't get. There's no seasick or any of that stuff, and there was no problem anywhere, so that was good. But I've also just realized, like, I'm becoming such a cranky old man, right? That I just love being at home.
Yep.
I don't want to be anywhere else. I don't need to be traveling. I've realized I'm not even a big traveler. I love it when I get to a destination.
Yeah, but everything before
travel, I'm not good at it. I did have a couple of. I love frictionless, easy, efficient travel. Right. I love when you can walk into an airport. Like I flew out of Lanseria to Cape Town, easiest thing in the world, because you check in the day before, you know exactly which gate to use. You have only hand luggage. Just make your life easier for you. You know, you just line up all the things that could bring you friction and eliminate them. And then you can because you see people, they're lugging like 2 big suitcases and they're huffing and puffing and they're uncomfortable and they're sweaty. They're having a bad time and they're running late for this, or they're worried about that. And it just makes it so much worse to travel that way.
No.
So wherever I can eliminate the friction, then I feel, even though it's only I would know that it was a victory of some kind, I always feel so good when I can just get rid of things that take up time and space that shouldn't be there.
Just kind of land at the Kruger airport.
Oh, it's so easy. That airport.
Be transferred to somewhere that just has a pool on your veranda in the bush and everything's done. The bath water's drawn.
Yeah. And I'll tell you what, there is something very satisfactory about just being effortless about things. Something about, that went exactly the way that I wanted it to. And not getting caught up in, I think I turned left, I should have turned right. Oh, where's the right counter? Oh, hang on, I can't find my phone. Oh, where did I leave it? That kind of thing, you know?
No, the angst is
it's
too
terrible.
much. I'm going to Bali in July, and I'm traveling with my brother. And if I weren't traveling with my brother, I don't think I would go. There's no way. He's been a traveler since very young and is so organized. So everything,
so
he's already saying, which of these restaurants do you want to go to for dinner in Singapore? You know, we've got this many hours exactly in the city. He's planned everything. So yeah, that's easy traveling, I hope, for 36 hours or 26 hours or whatever it is.
Oh, no, that's a long time to be on public transport. The other thing is that I also really like being on my own. It's a funny thing. Yeah. I've just become so used to having my own space, doing my own thing, that it's very difficult for me when there are a lot of people around to just be normal. And I'm not like Larry David levels of crazy or any of that stuff. I'm not a I'm not a sociopath. I'm not autistic.
Mm,
There's none of that going on. I just really like being on my own. I like my bed. I like my shower.
mhm.
That's the stuff that makes me happy. And
Nothing
it's
wrong with
funny.
that.
I derive such pleasure from it that every day is a happy day from little things like that. So that's good. I've realized a bunch of stuff. Anyway, we are into a brand new month from tomorrow, and it's that clusterfuck of a month where we're going to have public holidays
Yeah.
at various stages. And I mean, I just looked at it the other day. It's just such a mess. We've got a public holiday first there's Easter on the 18th, right?
What day of the week? That'll be
Friday.
Friday, obviously.
Always Good Friday. So there's Easter, then 18th, 19th, 20th, because the 20th is a holiday, you get the Monday off.
Hmm.
So that's the 21st. Then there's another one on the 27th of April, but because that's on a Sunday, we get the Monday again. And then there's the 1st of March, which is Workers' Day. So then you get that one off too. It's all just very confusing. So basically, I mean, the way I see it, very few people in South Africa will be working during the month of April.
Yeah. You're
That's
going
the
to get a
problem.
lot of out of offices,
Oh, yeah.
limited phone signal.
Yeah. I love the way people, you know what's terrible is when people leave those things on for way too long. They're already back at the office, but they've still got the out of office
Yeah.
email thing on. So you email them and you know, because you've spoken to them already. You're like, I'll phone you in an hour or whatever, and we could talk this over and get the details sorted out. And then you email them, and it goes, this person will only be back in the office on the, on the 31st of March. I mean, you go, but it is the 31st of March, and they've forgotten to switch it off. Anyway, what did you get up to this weekend?
I had car battery issues, which
Oh,
was
God.
interesting.
Is that because you're a salty old bitch and
No.
your battery couldn't handle it, so the acid turned to alkali? What happened?
No, it's this car. So I am in the process of getting a new car, but the battery life isn't very long in these cars. I think
Right.
this is my 5th or 6th battery. But it's just such a ball ache because it happens so suddenly. Then it's about either phoning
start?
someone, jumper
Yeah.
cables, or push starting, or Ubering, asking for a lift.
Right.
Asking the neighbor if you can
Suddenly
use
you
his
feel
car
like
as a donor
you're
car.
student again, right?
It's terrible. Absolutely terrible. But it was quick and easy when I finally found a place and found one on special, all done for another 18 months or so, I guess.
All right. Good. Well, there we go. Battery problems.
Yeah, it was very, very boring.
Okay. Well, I mean, if that was your weekend, then nothing too terrible happened, but nothing too great did either.
No, it was that and work, but
Okay.
I feel very prepared for Monday, which is good.
Okay. Looking through the comments here, there are a couple of people complaining about Friday's show.
Oh,
Yeah, Mapello can stay in the comments from now on. Thank you, says Duds. I don't know what Mapello did to upset everybody, but he was here in the studio. What did he say, James and Flex? You guys were here. All right, like unsolicited advice. Yeah. Everyone's got advice. Huh? Everyone's management and no one's fucking working.
you should swap jobs with him. What does he do?
What, Mapello? He's a teacher, isn't he?
Oh,
He's done a lot of different things. But I've never... here he is. Like and subscribe. He's in the comments section this morning. Oh, okay. Oh, so he was terrible, right? Marco says, I'm waiting for the day Gareth falls in love and gets married. Hey, so am I. But I don't... but I wouldn't hold my breath.
yeah, no, look.
I've
Let's
also...
be realistic.
Yeah, I've just... There's so much happiness and contentment in just doing whatever I fucking want.
Takes a long time to get to that level where you've got a comfortable living situation.
Well, it's also
you've got friends who understand that you don't want to see them.
Yeah. I mean, it's also got to do with freedom. The freedom to be able to decide mostly that I'm not going to do anything, but sometimes that I do want to do things. And I just prioritize that freedom more than most people do. you know. Gareth, he complained about the show, says Lee. That's obviously Mapelo. Oof, Mapelo was a disaster, says Marco. I'm just going on with the theme from Friday, G. I'm joking. People weren't happy with him. The hosting wasn't that great either. Being alone is awesome. It's so peaceful, Gareth. Trust me, everyone loved it, says Mapelo. Okay, well, I mean, you're not exactly objective, but okay. All right. Very good. So we got Dr. Hanan today. Maybe we should talk about delusions of not grandeur, but adequacy.
Illusions of adequacy.
Yeah, that's a proper insult. If you just say to someone, it seems that you have delusions of adequacy. It's about the meanest thing you could say to somebody. So we'll see what he has to tell us a little bit later, being a Monday. It's always a great thing to wake up and have your psychologist come and sort you out first thing on a Monday.
Mm-hmm.
All right, this is where your head's screwed up. Boom, boom, boom.
Get on track.
Yeah. I do see that we have a couple of things here that are quite interesting to talk about, and there was a lot that happened over the weekend. First of all, apparently we have a 1.1 trillion rand problem. Do you know what this is?
Oh, well, it's obviously government.
No, this is us. And you sometimes complain about the government, but you get the government you deserve as a country. So sometimes
has it been lost?
It's not the government, and I would not like to start my Monday morning by talking about the government. But gambling in South Africa has surged. Now, I observed something that I thought was quite interesting over the weekend. On these ships, they have a casino.
Yeah.
Most depressing place on the whole ship.
Mm.
I mean, I find casinos depressing. I'm lucky.
Mm.
They can make all those noises.
Yeah.
And they can have the ching, ching, ching. And I am not turned on by any of that shit. I'm not fooled by any of it. I think early on in my life, I remember my parents would go and gamble with their friends, and it was part of a fun excursion. It was the 90s, so doing that stuff was still quite novel because we didn't have casinos in South Africa for a long time. There were casinos, but they were in places like Sun City or the Wild Coast or whatever, and gambling was not close to home.
We had the gambling in the nearby states when we were growing up.
Yeah, in the old Bantustanes.
And things like that. And my grandfather would take the whole family, and he'd hand out envelopes of cash to the parents and children.
Nice.
And the whole family would then go gambling, except for my mom, my dad, my brother, and I. We would go off to the Kruger Park or go off to some nature reserve.
So you'd take your money.
We hated the gambling. I remember even putting towels under the hotel door to stop the noise and lights from the casinos coming in.
Wow. You've been traumatized.
Yeah.
No, we used to go, and it was fun because, and it wasn't a regular, but my parents had suddenly decided they wanted to go and gamble with these friends of theirs, and it was more like you decide you're going to play a couple of $100 and then if you win, you win. If you lose, you lose. But I've never been drawn to casinos. I don't find it exciting. Obviously, there's a thrill to winning, but I'm just not a gambler.
Mm-mm.
I'm just so lucky I don't have that gene.
Yeah.
Right? Just not there. So I don't get excited around a casino. If anything, I see a lot of desperation, and I see a lot of very, very sad people.
Mm.
And I am convinced that I can smell desperation.
Mm.
I'm convinced it has a smell.
Well, it might do.
I mean,
hormonal emissions and whatnot.
If you go into any of those casinos, right? And I haven't been into any except for this one on the ship over the weekend. But if you go to a casino, even a very smart, very fancy, first class, lovely, appointed, well cleaned casino, there's a kind of a sharp smell. I'm convinced of this that comes from desperation. It's like people who've sunk 100,000 rand into a machine.
Yeah.
And you can just tell they're desperate. Like, I don't know if they're pheromones that come off of them or...
They could be.
There's like a desperate... I'm telling you, I can smell it.
Unless it's the material that the chips are made of or something.
I don't know. I can smell it, man. Anyway, we have a problem in this country because gambling in South Africa has absolutely surged. Problem gamblers seeking help rising nearly 8-fold in 4 years, coinciding with a 40.2% increase in wagered money to 1.1 trillion rand. Critics, including MP Makashule Ghana, blame all kinds of things: aggressive advertising, unemployment, poverty for the crisis, urging tighter regulations, higher taxes, and stricter advertising controls. Now, you hear about that, but I think after the insurance companies, gambling gets the most advertising right now. And I'm talking about these online betting, companies, these places where you can wager on sport or,
Yes.
on the market doing something or something happening in the news or whatever. It's a big deal. And South Africans love clearly to gamble because those are the biggest advertisers, which must mean they're making money. Otherwise, you wouldn't spend more money on marketing. And they're hugely competitive. You've got all these different betting companies that pretty much own most of the billboards.
Yeah, they do.
You've noticed that, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the problem. To me, straight away, it's directly related to unemployment and poverty. And just this cycle of the only way I can get out of it is if I gamble.
I remember when we were filming a TV show, and we had to be there early on a Monday morning, and it was adjacent to this casino. So we parked under the casino, and then we went into the place we were filming in. And on a Monday morning, now, at like 6, 7 o'clock, now, there were people, like mostly you could see there were pensioners, or these were not people who were like, rolling in money. These are not people who are, I feel like, you know what, fuck it.
In the literal sense, high rollers.
Yeah. These people were like miserable, desperate, hopeful people who went there and like pressed the button, hoping that something will come up. And I just think, oof.
Oh, it's awful.
Anyway, so this is the problem we've got now. Apparently, despite growing calls for reform, the National Gambling Board lacks a functional board, raising concerns over oversight in a rapidly expanding industry. So we have a National Gambling Board, but they're dysfunctional. So if even the National Gambling Board is dysfunctional, what chance do we have? And also, how much can we blame the authorities for this? Because this is an us problem. You know how often you'll see that there's a problem in society and you go, okay, well, that's because the government fucked something up. It's easy to tell. But this is an us thing, and I wonder how you begin to address this. Maybe we can bring this up with Dr. Hanan, because this is clearly a very big problem in South Africa.
I bet you that half of those people would not gamble if they weren't desperate. They're not gambling because they have a problem. But they're gambling because they need to go home with more money because they actually can't afford food.
But, again, logic would dictate otherwise. These gambling companies, as we just pointed out, not poor. They're not struggling. You're sitting at the machine and you're struggling. You know how this is going to go, right? You're leaving you're going to sink a proportion of your monthly salary into a machine that on a completely random basis gives out a bit of chance here and there and mostly just takes in money. It just doesn't, it defies logic on every level, right? Especially when you do that. If you're going to play a bit of blackjack or roulette, and people tell me there are systems here, I'm willing to believe it. I just don't know well enough, and I don't care enough to learn to know. If I were to be in a casino, it would have to be with a bunch of friends. We'd almost have to be playing for fun. I don't mind if it's real money, but if it doesn't work out, then someone's going to feel terrible if they lose. And I just don't want to, I want to avoid those things completely. So I don't find casinos exciting. Obviously, I'm in the minority because this is big. A 40.2 increase in wagered money. 1.1 trillion South African rand in gambling.
Yeah. I mean, I used to, when I was very young, my boyfriend at the time, his dad would take his weekly wage in a brown paper bag. And we would drive straight to a casino on a Friday.
Oh, my God.
Or to the horse betting.
Wow.
And that was not out of a problem. That was out of desperation.
Really? And did he win?
He was playing with little money. Maybe he'd put in 100 and win 400 or something like that.
Yeah, but then also gamblers never talk about when they lose.
It's also true. But also, it was a depressing state. We didn't really have a big conversation about how much it won or lost while we were waiting in the car.
Is that when you were just waiting in the car?
Yes.
Oh, that's depressing.
Because we were 13 years old or 14.
And even the horse races, that used to be a big thing, right?
Yeah, but it's in those little betting halls.
Yeah, but I remember my own grandfather, he would sometimes have the horse racing on TV.
Mm.
You remember that? And then he'd have a little book.
There's those places that you can go to and do that.
That's just unbelievable to me. Let's go to the comments here. A couple of interesting things here. The problem is a certain site, it doesn't do anything to educate its players. Another huge issue, the scammers preying on the poor and uneducated with ways to win LN crash games. I don't know what those are, but okay, I'll take your word for it. Sports betting is out of control. You can bet on every single aspect of the game, but I think people are bored with some of the sport. That's why they're doing this. Once I bet my whole salary on a horse, says Monica. Jeez. I had a good tip who to bet on, and the horse won. I didn't play again. I was just desperate at that time.
Wow.
Logic tells you cannot win. Beat the odds with gambling, but no more common sense is left in the world, says Peter. That's about right. You don't need casinos. The slot machines and bars keep some of these bars open for business.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
You go to bars and they have slot machines
100%. I have a friend who owns one or two of these establishments. And that's
like a strip club?
No, just a little
house.
a tiny bar.
Slot machine?
A few chairs where you can watch the sport on TV or the horse racing and you can put in your bets.
God, how depressing.
Slot machines. And sometimes that's what keeps the business going because those people aren't buying alcohol.
Jesus.
That's for sure.
My mother-in-law can't play lotto on her phone. She needs to hold that piece of paper in her hand or it's not real. Well, even the lottery, there are some people who I think of as smart.
Yeah, and also wealthy people will play the lotto.
And I mean, I've done it once or twice.
Yeah.
Especially if there's a really big jackpot, because you think, well, now it's worth it, even though I've never won more than like 30 Rand.
Yeah.
In any massive, and I'm not spending a lot of money either. As I said to you, gambling, luckily, is not one of my vices. But it's just wild to me that people will stake it all on that random chance of a ball dropping into the right thing and, showing the number that you want. Crazy. I get it. I mean, there's nothing better, I'm sure, for a gambler than that thrill of winning. But I remember hearing a story told by a gambling addict who was in recovery. And this guy, if you bet on me sneezing in the first hour, you would have won money, you see. And this guy was saying that the devastation of loss is way, way, way worse
than the euphoria of winning.
And that's where I thought, well, then what do you need? That's all the proof I'd ever need. I'm not a feelings person. I'm more of a thinking person. But the feel of loss is not good. If I can avoid that by not getting involved in that game at all, then I probably will.
Yeah.
Especially when you think about how hard you have to work to earn every single Rand that you have now, right?
Yeah.
Jesus. I mean,
that's the thing. I mean,
it's tough.
There's no one walking around these communities saying, I've got some good financial advice for you. Instead of taking that 200 Rand that you gamble with every month, let's do this. No one's actually doing that.
Well, if it were only it were 200 Rand a month.
Yeah, it's obviously a lot more.
But I can't even imagine anything worse than like some old person who smokes and drinks. Okay, because you have to do both of those at the same time. That's why in the casinos they give you free drinks while you're gambling.
Do they?
Some casinos. I think the smarter ones.
Might like gambling after all.
Yeah, you might get into it. But you sit there and as long as you're still gambling, you can get free drinks. I think that's how it used to work anyway. And they're always dark because there's no natural light.
Yeah.
So you mustn't know what time it is.
Yes. Always a very bunt, we would say, bold carpet.
Always like a bright fucking purple or aquamarine or something.
Patterned.
Yeah. Lots of patterns, lots of lights all over, lots of sounds all over, keeping you stimulated the whole time. It's wild to me that people just fall for this time after time after time, and that they get a thrill when they walk into the casino. You can see they almost get a spring in their step. It's just clearly it's a thing that's hitting all the right markers for them. I think it goes with smoking, drinking, pressing the filthy button on this machine, and it's nothing about that I want.
No.
If you create a hopeless environment, the people become hopeless, and betting is like praying for a miracle, says Dirk. I think that's probably true. Maybe for some people, it's the miracle, it's the promise of that miracle that keeps them coming. Because if I won 100,000 Rand, it would sort out all my financial problems.
Is it all the religions that are against gambling?
No. I don't think that they
I
are.
wonder if this could be correlated with people becoming less
religious. Maybe. I think that gambling is maybe the online betting stuff is younger, but I always see gambling as a bit of an older thing, especially casino gambling. Flex, James, do you guys gamble? No? Yeah, I mean, it's. I don't think it's generational necessarily. If people do, it's an online thing for younger ones, and casinos and old school gambling for the others. And I don't even know if horse racing is still a thing, but it must be. They're still doing it.
Yeah.
I don't know about religion. I do think that some of them frown on it's a vice to be a gambling person, but I don't know that they are necessarily that strict about it. They're more strict about alcohol, some of them. They're more strict about adultery.
Because the book I read, Confessions of a Gambler, was written by a Muslim woman from the Western Cape.
Yeah.
And I know that in the Muslim religion, you're not supposed to gamble.
Yeah.
And then for her, I think a lot of the excitement came from the fact that she wasn't meant to be doing it.
Well, maybe that's also it. You must never underestimate the value of taboo for some people. They want to do something just because it's frowned upon. And they almost secretly want to get caught. I don't know. Again, that's a thrill. Just not interested in chasing. Vyasan says you don't need casinos. We've just spoken about that. These bars. I'm fascinated that there are these little bars popping up that have slot machines in.
Okay.
Is it easy to get a gambling license for those places?
I mean, I could ask my friend for all the answers.
So I had some friends around in probably January, and I had 2 decks of cards and chips, but we didn't pay actual money to play. So we all got 20 chips and you play blackjack, which is fun. You get to 21. It's there's a little bit of skill involved. There's mostly luck, because what are you going to do? You don't know what the card is. And we had a lot of fun, but we played for about an hour and a half, and then everybody was maybe if it was real money, we'd be more invested in it.
I think you would.
But it was a fun thing to do with your friends.
Yeah.
But none of us were very upset when we were out.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a lot of stupid cheating going on. It's like, shame you don't have any chips here. Take those from the bank. That kind of thing. And then there was drinking involved too. So it became less serious with every step of the way.
Yeah.
I don't know. 1.1 trillion Rand. South Africa, we do have a problem. I don't think we're alone. I think there are lots of countries in the world that have a similar problem. But this is worth a little introspection. And then this is this is not going to make anyone go to sleep well tonight. Authorities say that a babysitter checked under the bed for monsters and found someone. Yes. Da-da-dun-dun-dun. Can you imagine?
Was it a human man?
So a Kansas child's fear of a monster under the bed turned to be real when a babysitter discovered a man hiding under the bed, leading to a struggle and an eventual arrest. The suspect, a former resident under a protection order, fled, but was caught after a short chase. He now faces multiple charges, including aggravated kidnapping and burglary.
A former resident of what? The establishment, the place where this. So he used to live in this house.
Clearly.
And he was back.
It's like those people
and he
in
was
the
trying to kidnap.
Do you remember when
child.
they told us that story on one of the shows last year about the people living in the roof?
I did, yes, about that man who came out at night.
Oh my God.
To eat your
now imagine,
stuff out the fridge.
Imagine you think, oh, there's a monster under the bed. You're a child. And then there turns out to be a man under the bed.
I just want to know what types of beds people have these days. Do you know of any beds in your house that a human...
no one could fit under my
Not
bed.
even a robotic vacuum cleaner can fit under my bed.
Yeah. Yeah, there's no
What
kind
beds
of
are
room.
people using? They've
know.
got these big bed frames, I think.
Maybe there are those ones that are on
The spindles.
Yeah, they're on legs like a chair is.
Yeah.
I don't know, but this is a good reason to get rid of that bed that has legs. Imagine there's this funny little man living under your bed, and you hear something in the night. You hear like a, and then you're like, I'm too scared to. I started listening to this podcast about paralysis, sleep paralysis. You know, when you get, where you think there's something sitting on your chest and you can't move.
Yes.
Oh my God! Now imagine you're paralyzed with fear, and you hear this.
No.
Under the bed. Holy Mother of God! Okay,
that's who you'd be calling.
I'd be calling anyone in for help. I'll call all of the different deities of all the different religions. In that moment, I'll become a devotee. Like, save me. Whichever one of you saves me first, you get me for life. Yeah. Life and after. This is interesting too. In Australia, most betting happens at tab betting locations, which are everywhere in neighborhoods. It's not just the large casinos. B says we've won 250,000 Rand on the lotto. See, so it happens. That would be very nice. Imagine. That would be very nice.
That would be very nice.
250, $250,000 Rand. That would solve a lot of our problems. By our, I mean individually. You know, we all have things we have to pay for.
Yeah.
Imagine if you suddenly had $250,000 Rand in your account that you just won from the lotto. Nice. I get that. I understand the thrill of seeking a solution to your problems that is based purely on luck, because you don't have to do any work for it, really. My grandfather played lotto until he died. Mental how people will keep on trying, says Bitcoin Bot. Many bars can cover their rent with the slots income.
Yeah.
Also, then technically the establishment becomes a casino, so smoking is allowed throughout. Oh. So if you have a casino license, you can have smoking on the premises. That's interesting too. I only got back 20 Rand from Lotto. Mapelo, thank you. Well, you also only got 20 listeners on Friday by the sound of things. So the small bars with slot machines always know when the machines are going to pay out big. One of my customers had a manager who got 30K out of a slot machine because she knew it was about to pay. I don't know if I'm spoiled. I would not sit at one of those machines for an hour or three just to win 30,000 Rand. And 30,000 Rand's a lot of money, right? It's just, I cannot justify sitting there for that long. A casino reminds me what hell must look like. Hate it. And smell. I'm telling you, there's a smell. If you create a hang on a second. We've moved on. Don't let gambling become your god, says Matthew Dixon. If not, there is nothing wrong with it. So in other words, as long as you have fun with it, cool. Gareth, go to Hollywood and read the comments on Aviator. People are literally throwing away SASA grants, full salaries. Ooh, guys. By putting slots into the bar, this thing keeps updating and then I lose this. Janine says, I will take a human under my bed over a Parktown prawn. You sure?
Oh, no.
I had a bat in my house last week.
One of the little ones?
Little bat.
Yeah.
But you know, when you walk into a room and you're like, whoa, hang on, that's not meant to be there. And there's thing flying around. Now, luckily, the dog was asleep in another room because otherwise she would have gone crazy. But I managed
Would she have tried to get it?
Oh, yeah, for sure. But I tried to guide this thing. I managed to guide it into the spare bedroom, open the windows, but it flew round and round. And I felt so sorry for this thing because I thought it's going to be exhausted.
Yeah.
And eventually, I think it got out through the window. But I closed the door and left the window there. And I wasn't scared of it. I wasn't, because it's little. I mean, the body
They're like
is
little
probably the size of your
sparrows.
thumb.
Yeah, you see them come out at dusk.
They're tiny little things, and I can often see them flying around outside, but I don't know how this thing got into the house. It must have got in
Weird.
through one of the, I mean, there was a window open that much. Could it have crawled in there?
Could have. Oh, as long as I'm thinking of Australia.
No, not those big.
Those hanging bats
Fruit
that hang from
bats.
the trees that are like half the length of my body.
No, that would be fucking terrifying. That would be like Dracula's moved in. Anyway, no, I had a bat in the house and I wasn't worried about that. So Parktown prawns, nothing. Don't you dabble in sports betting, G? No, I did when we had a sponsor on the show for the sport. And I tried it and I did okay. And then I suddenly didn't do okay. And then I suddenly did okay again. I just don't I like regular stuff. I like things. I don't like the random chance thing with money. I know people who do very well there. Eh?
Yeah.
They enjoy it, gives them a thrill. Maybe they have money to burn. I don't know, but I'm sure it feels awesome to win. I just don't, it's not a thrill I'm looking for. It takes all of us, to make the world work. If you want to win the lotto, you can play every sequence of numbers. It'll cost 11 million rand. I don't think that makes sense. There would be so many combinations. I think you'd have to spend more than 11 million rand. And it wouldn't, I mean, someone would have gamed the system, right? With AI especially. And I'll tell you about AI and my recent breakthrough there too. Remember when Oscar Pistorius also had a bat in his house? It didn't end as well. Not that kind of bat, Carl. A friend, an actuary, told me that the lotto is gambling for those who are mathematically challenged. Yeah, there we go. I'd love to compete in a poker tournament someday. So those people who do that, I mean, poker is quite interesting because there is a little bit more skill involved.
Yeah.
You can kind of, depending on how much you put in, depending on when you choose to take a card or not, what is happening for the dealer. I think there's a little bit of skill involved, but there's still a huge amount of luck. But poker seems to me almost to be more of a mental game.
Yeah.
It's more like sussing out the other players. That could be fun.
Another friend story, but yes, I have a friend who was quite good at it. And he got to the point where he was traveling and he was, moving up in numbers in the tournaments. And obviously you've got to put money in, but generally they come out with quite a bit of money at that level. But again, not doing it for the money. He had his job. He was just doing it for fun.
Doesn't sound like it went well.
Oh, no. I mean, I don't know if he's still doing it.
Okay.
But yeah.
All right. Well, who knows? I mean, you can also gamble on the stock market. What's the difference, really?
Oh, what about
that's gambling? It's a kind of gambling.
Cryptocurrency.
Yeah, sure.
Investments.
All of it's gambling. So I suppose we all have some propensity to doing that. I'm more worried about something I'm sleeping under the bed that I don't know about than I am about losing the lotto. Not winning the lotto. There's no such thing as losing the lotto. Okay. So apparently this is interesting, and you can tell us a bit about it. Newsweek have published a great piece on our Antarctica base, which didn't you tell us about the other day?
Yeah.
Oh, you did.
South Africa was in the news for that.
And we had that crazy person running around our base, right? Maybe sleeping under people's beds.
Well, I don't know if I'd call them crazy.
Well, I think that isolation gets to you.
It does. And in fact, what Newsweek did was they got hold of one of our South African scientists or people who work on the base, who's been there before, and they've done an amazing piece with him.
Is that him with the red sort of halo?
That's him there, yes. So this is where it's one of the most isolated places on Earth for 10 months at a time.
Oh, sure.
Some of the harshest weather. Apparently it can be terrifying at the base.
Well, look how shit it looks there. I mean, I'm not being horrible, but
it's not great.
Those are just like containers. There's the most boring looking place in the world. So and you've only got snow and ice and cold all around you. It must be awful.
That's about it.
No.
So this is again to remind you if you hadn't heard, but it's like a 9-member team
Okay.
that gets sent down, and in this last batch that got sent,
That them.
this is the guy who they interviewed. His name is Lodrick Hlungwane.
Uh-huh.
He spent 3 consecutive years living at the base, so he's got a lot of experience. That's him in the middle there. That was his crew, and you can see there's one woman in the group. And he says,
Looks like 2 in that
let's
picture.
be, or maybe 2. He said,
Oh.
look, let's be honest. Hormones do become an issue. Loneliness becomes an issue.
Yeah. Well, it's like an episode of Survivor.
Straight away, you've got however many men in a room compared to women. This natural kind of instinct to fight for the woman comes across, because, of course, this time it was allegations of sexual harassment that had surfaced. So he says, yeah, it is disturbing, but it's not surprising, because these sorts of things happen. He says it's a lot mentally. He says, yes, they do psychometric testing, but when you're in that situation, it's actually not surprising that someone could actually
Is that the guy?
Completely lose it. Yes, that's
okay.
him.
Well, look how fucking frosty his tips are.
Yeah. He said, he sees it in people who come back from the base.
Yeah.
Some of them actually can't reintegrate themselves in society
because they're so fucking cold. I'm telling you, that's a big part of it. There's no amount of money you could pay me. It's like all these people who want to go to Mars. Cool, you go. Tell me how it is. I'm staying right fucking here.
But like he says, there's not much to it. You get this. Oh, do you want a job in Antarctica? Yeah, I'll give that a try.
Okay, but what do
kind
you
of just
do?
Go over.
Oh my God, there he is in like shorts.
And he's from Limpopo, so he says,
wow,
for where it drops below 55 degrees Fahrenheit, it's a big shock. He says it takes about 2 months for your body to adjust.
Sure. What do they do all day? Experiments? Like, what is this base involved in? Like, do you wake up early in the morning?
I actually don't know, and considering this was quite an in-depth article,
I would love to know what they actually get up to on a daily basis. What do we send them there for? Because I don't know
what stuff there is to do.
How much fucking work do you do on penguins?
I don't know if it's monitoring temperatures, or I don't know.
But surely we can have machines do so much of that now. And especially in an age of AI. I was playing with an AI image generator over the course of the weekend. And it's just incredible. They've just updated the OpenAI ChatGPT image generator.
Yeah.
So it does the most incredible things. And you can really learn to perfect your either vocal or text prompts to get precisely the thing you're looking for. So if you want to create a cake with Leigh-Ann written on it, and it must look like it's got nuts and 12 candles, and you can be so specific that it will generate out of nothing exactly the image you're looking for.
Yeah,
with
amazing.
Perfect precision. And that to me is just phenomenal. And I think it will do a better job than a human artist eventually, which both terrifies and excites me at the same time. Because if it can do a better job than a human artist, think about it. If you want to have a painting commissioned, or if there is a certain kind of art that we know will appeal to thousands more people than this, and you can produce endless numbers of that canvas, just done to perfect precision, so that everyone can effectively have a Mona Lisa in their house. It's doable now. Of course, the scary thing is, for those of us who still value human creativity, you wonder if the AI will ever be able to truly be genius, as in come up with something that humanity doesn't know. Because at this point, you still have to tell it what to do.
Yeah, of course.
So it's not going to come up with something on its own. And sure, some of that stuff will be amazing. Some of it will be, wow, it'll be spectacularly surprising. But you kind of wonder, and I think humans have ceded so much ground to the machines anyway.
Yeah, they have.
Because
I
for
think,
the last, I don't know, 70 or 80 years,
yeah.
there isn't a lot of human modern art that I would consider very good at all.
But
And
still, I would rather have a piece of that art in my home than the
something
Mona Lisa that's been
made by a machine.
duplicated thousands of times and everyone has one.
Yeah.
So it kind of
it's a
it
rarity
gives human beings more value to me.
Okay. That's one way of looking at it. Don't know. Let's go to Dr. Hanan. Maybe he can answer all these questions for us. Hey, Doc, how are you?
Hey guys, I'm doing well. How are you doing?
Fantastic. We know it's Monday and we know that you are here. I want to just quickly go to something that we spoke about earlier, that there's this gambling problem in South Africa. And I wonder about the idea of addiction, which we've discussed once or twice on this segment of the show before. But if you could just perhaps reflect on that briefly for us, because I do think it's a worry that 1.1 trillion rand in South Africa is being wagered on an annual basis. That's an enormous amount of money, and it's money people don't have. And obviously, the house always wins. So, what is it in us that makes us illogically, and you would say something like self-harming, because that's what it does. People will lose a proportion of their salary. They'll bet money that they can't afford, that they don't have. On the hope, on the glimmer, on the prayer of being able to win something. And obviously in South Africa, gambling is a very popular thing for people to do. So we were talking about desperation. Do you have any comments on that stuff?
Yeah, well, obviously, addiction is a problem, and gambling is an issue, especially when you're spending money that you don't have. And people think that they can beat the house in their own game. And you got to remember, the gambling industry is a multi-billion-dollar industry for the casinos. In other words, they have invested billions and billions and billions of dollars in this facade of creating this game for you that makes you think that you can beat the house and have all your dreams come true. And in reality, everything is set up in a way that makes sure that you leave empty-handed, with the illusion that you can win the next time. So if you think you can beat the house at their own game, well, you're mistaken. There's science behind you walking into from the moment that you walk into the casino to the moment that you leave. It's all designed to entice you. And the reason why people gamble is, and I'm talking about the unhealthy gambling, is because they're looking for a quick fix to make themselves feel better. So they're lacking something in their lives and they're looking for a way to fulfill what's lacking through the casino, which is impossible because you might win. And there's a saying, the worst thing that can happen to you in a casino is if you win, because once you win, you think you've mastered it, you beat the casino at their own game, and you can come back and get some more of that dopamine hit. And in reality, eventually you'll always lose. Nobody ever beats the casino in the long run. So yeah, make sure that you're fulfilling your life and you're fixing whatever it is that's in your life. So you don't have to go to the casino to fulfill a broken marriage, to fulfill financial instability, to fulfill a lack of purpose in your life. But don't think that you can beat it. It's impossible.
So I'm curious, do you think people are addicted to the result or to the process? Because Leigh-Ann and I were talking about this in some depth in the first half hour of the show this morning. I would be thrilled who wouldn't, to win, lots of money. But I'm not interested in the process of gambling. And maybe other people are just built differently, where the process with the loud noises and the ringing and the ching, ching, ching and the explosions and God knows what else it is that gets people excited. But it's the actual idea of, like, you pull the lever or you press the button and there's this noise and there are these things that are happening and your eyes are stimulated and it feels exciting, like you should be excited for some people. And they're clearly turned on by the process. And then if they win, that makes it even better, obviously.
Yeah. So the truth is, we all get excited. We think we get excited because of the reward, but in reality, we get excited because of the potential of the reward. We think dopamine is all about the reward. Not true. Dopamine is all about the potential of a reward. So what happens when we've done these experiments with rats? We give them a pellet of food or some hit of a dopamine when they press a button. But then what we do is we light, we turn on a
Light them on
light
fire.
5 minutes before they get the dopamine hit, and the dopamine starts when the light turns on, as opposed to when they get the reward.
Right.
So dopamine is the chase of the potential reward as opposed to the reward itself. So that cha-ching that you hear, and all the potentials, oh my God, my dreams can come true, that is a much greater hit of dopamine than the actual reward.
I read that experiment completely wrong. I imagined tiny little rats, and you said we give rats, straight away in my mind, a little rat was on a stool with his little hand on the lever on a gambling machine, straight away. And then when you said, and then we light, and you paused, I thought you lit the rats like with a lighter.
Oh my God, you're a complete psychopath.
It went all over the place.
You're a total nutcase. Oh my God. If it wasn't for you once a week on this show, Dr. Hanan, she would have spun out of control completely. She'd be running a cult. She'd have a cult of her own. She'd be wearing a high priestess's outfit and making them do outrageous, stupid things.
Calling myself the mothership.
Yeah.
So maybe we're doing a disservice. Maybe that's her real calling.
Yeah.
Just do you. Just do you.
Yeah, and Leigh-Ann, you could end up saving lots of people.
And rats from being burnt, because now I know what happens.
You must.
All right, so Dr. Hanan, the thing that we wanted to talk to you about originally, which I do want to get to, we've got some time luckily, is the advice trap. Why we love getting advice, but we hate taking it. This is such a monstrous big deal. And I can't tell you how I hate giving advice. I can't stand it. People say, well, what do you think I should do here? And I don't want to get involved in those conversations. Like, why would you ask me?
Yeah, that's very true.
Right?
Right.
Okay, so
I'll tell you why.
Let's get to the people about giving advice but hate taking it. Let's get to that.
So the human brain is really designed for survival, and the best way to survive is to conserve metabolic energy. And the best way to conserve metabolic energy is don't learn anything new, don't risk anything. So, of course, I'd rather tell you to bungee jump than risk your life. And I'd rather tell you to go and start a new business. You can be the entrepreneur that you've always dreamt of, as opposed to me gambling my own money or risking my own money.
Mm-hmm.
You should get out there. Ships are not meant to stay in the harbor, but meanwhile, it's really risky out there. Yeah. So it's much easier for me to risk with your money, with your time, with your resources, as opposed to me risking my own, because that's really expensive and that's really risky. So, of course, it's much easier to give advice. You should go to the gym, and you should eat better, and you should get into beautiful relationships, and you should venture out, and you should take risks because X, Y, and Z. So, of course, I'd risk with your time, or I'd gamble with your time than opposed to mine, because my life matters a lot more than yours does. So, to me. So that's why it's a lot easier giving advice than taking it, because there's a lot more risk.
That makes perfect sense. So in some way, it's also it's related to gambling, right? I mean, it's the same thing. I'm gambling on the house's money.
Yeah. So of course, I don't want to. I mean, with unfortunately, with gambling, it's the other way around, where the house is actually telling you to risk, because you're going to win all these wonderful riches and you're going to have all your dreams come true if you just bet one more time, one more chip, one more pull the lever. You're going to have that crazy amazing home, or the crazy amount of money, or the crazy dream that you've always dreamt of, and you can have it without working hard. Just press that lever. And but when it comes to giving people advice, it's always about, well, you gamble. Nobody gambles their own stuff for somebody else. People want to give advice that makes somebody else gamble their own resources for them. So there's no cost to us, but there's a great cost to somebody else. And listen, in reality, some advice is really good, and you should really watch who you take advice from. And some advice is really not so good. And how many times do I have to say on the show? I would never rely on my mechanic to tell me what's wrong with my heart, and I will never lean on my cardiologist to tell me what's wrong with my car. So you got to lean for your mechanic for your car and your cardiologist for your heart. Make sure that you lean on the right people for their advice.
But you just made me think now, you are actually asked for your advice by people and you have to give advice. And do people take advice easily? Because that's the other component to this, right? We've just gone into a discussion about how we like to bet with the house's money effectively. But in this case, when someone asks for advice, I always find 90% of the time they're actually just making conversation. They don't really want advice.
But if they pay you for your advice, then
in your case, they have to pay for it. So you would hope that they would be able to implement that in their life. You don't have a dog in the fight. If you're actually a paid psychologist and you're giving people advice, you'd think they would take it. What's the actual rate of success in terms of uploading new advice?
It's such a lacquer question, and I want to tell you. So you're quite right. With outside of the practice, people ask for your advice. What should I do? But ultimately, people stay with what they know because we're addicted to. We create what we know as opposed to create what we want because it's a lot safer staying with what we know as opposed to taking risks. In practice, you will not believe it. It's probably the same rate. The fact that people are paying doesn't make them much more susceptible to taking advice. It just justifies why they don't have to because they've already paid for it. So it's like booking a session with a personal trainer, paying them in advance, and when you don't arrive, you don't feel guilty because you've paid them anyway. So with psychologists, exactly the same. People come here and they want the best for their lives and they want to improve and they want to move and they want to step out of their comfort zone. But in reality, everybody's just as scared, whether they pay for it or not, to take the next move or to step out of their comfort zones, to take the advice. So, change is change, which is incredibly difficult whether you pay for it or not.
Yeah, we also like experience is still the best teacher, right? So you give people all the advice. You could say to them, this is where I went wrong. This is what you shouldn't do. This is what you should do. But most people will only actually learn when they experience it themselves. Yeah. That's the really tough part.
But that's the reality. That's the reality. Learning anything new is not an intellectual exercise. It's an experiential one. So let's divide advice into kind of intellectual and experiential. So everybody will take the intellectual advice.
Yeah.
You should go to the gym and you should eat this and you should, marry that and you should, break up with that. Intellectually, it all makes sense. But how many people actually step out of their comfort zone, experience it? Very, very few. The ones that do make changes, but it's very difficult. So yes, you only learn through experience as opposed to logic. Logic actually doesn't touch sides. The experience that changes you.
Well, that's probably a good thing. HS just brought up here. There was an ANC politician who said on the news once, I forget who it was, you can take the donkey to the river, but you can't make the river drink the donkey.
Yeah.
And then this is quite cool. Bitcoin But says, how do I actually get hold of Dr. Hanan? Well, I mean, the man is extremely busy. He doesn't have time for the likes of us. He basically comes on the show and gives us free advice, but I think you can try. What is the best way to get hold of you, Dr. Hanan?
So email me at Hanan, Hanan, at atclinic.co.za, or just follow me on social media, send me a message. Probably that's the easiest.
All right.
On Instagram or on Facebook or
social media. There we go. Okay. Keep giving people advice. I hope they take it because we try to take your advice very seriously. There's Dr. Hanan. It's Monday morning, and thank you, Doc. We'll catch you next week.
Thanks, guys. See you then.
Awesome. All right. I hope you're having a good start to your week. It's going to be a brand new month tomorrow, April, and you can feel it in the weather.
In your bones.
In the bones. It's suddenly getting chilly. Huh?
It's coming.
Yeah. So get ready for that.
I just saw the craziest front cover of me with Daily Sun.
The comment about Gigi Lemaine being a downgrade. So I came here to understand what that conversation was about.
breaking new ground. The multi-talented artist has taken a leap into the world of health by introducing her very own IV drip line.
From the Real Network studios in Johannesburg, South Africa, home of the bewildered Proteas supporters and the bashful Bok fans, we bring you another episode of your favorite weekly sports show starring hosts called Ben and Sandile. This week we have fashion creative Lonwabo Kabangesi in studio as we are talking sports drip. That was the show's line, that wasn't mine. From player kits on the sports fields to what they're rocking off of it, we showcase the sports style icons of today and yesterday, sports' growing influence on fashion in general, and of course, how the guys measure up, outfit-wise, in studio each week.
All right, that was a guy apparently like an Egyptian TV singing contest, but he thinks he sounds amazing.
He thinks he's got all the words right.
It's I am the one.
How funny.
He's just great. All right, so it's Monday morning. We've got lots of things to talk about, and there are plenty of places to go. Apparently, Iceland is using optical illusions to keep its roads safe. See, they can experiment with stuff like this in Iceland because they have a law-abiding population.
No, but also because they're not fixing potholes or have to fix potholes.
Well, there's only 2 roads in Iceland anyway. I mean,
can you imagine doing a 3D effect? Well, we could around all our potholes. That might be quite fun. At least we'd see them better.
Well, I don't know. Maybe we'd have more accidents. Could be like distracted. Ah!
Well, that's exactly what the idea is to make motorists slow down.
Oh.
So at pedestrian crossings, they've created them out of like a 3D. So immediately that makes the driver slow down because you think you're going to drive over something.
Yeah. How clever.
Yeah, so that's pretty clever. They're popping up all over, which I really like. And there was another example recently in New Delhi.
Oh.
That's also quite cool. And the cops have got involved in doing a little photo shoot there.
Listen, these people...
It reminds me of the Beatles.
Yeah, it does. It's like the Indian Beatles. There are people, these artists who do that stuff, who are incredible. They just use chalk.
Yeah.
And it looks like there's an aquarium in the middle of the road. So, I mean, it's beautiful too, which I don't know how long it lasts with people driving over these things. But those 3D crossings are just beautiful. I think that's lovely.
I did hit a pothole badly.
Oh, shit.
But it makes such a difference what car you're
someone
in.
here in the office had to replace a tire just the other day too.
It actually slices your tire sometimes. Those edges are really sharp.
Yes.
But I did take my brother's car for the day during my car battery crisis.
Yeah.
And that was like floating, and you hardly feel any potholes. Whereas my car, if you just go over a stone, it comes out your
whole car goes like that.
So I would appreciate big drawings around these potholes so we could avoid
Yeah.
them.
No, but that's very clever. I like it. I'd also like to see just more art all over the place. I mean, wouldn't it be lovely if our cities were beautiful again? And I do say again, because we used to have parks that were well maintained.
It's not like that now.
People, the municipality would plant trees. That was part of their job. It should be part of any municipality's job. Our municipality can't, in Johannesburg anyway, can't even get the basics right. So that's so far down the list that making a suburb beautiful, making a township beautiful, that's just not even on the agenda because we've got so many things to fix.
We're treading water. But speaking to an Uber driver, again, #battery crisis.
Yeah.
He said when he saw the area that I was in, he almost didn't come.
Why? Because it's dangerous?
Because of the potholes.
Oh, you're joking.
And especially during the rain because they're filled with water and you can't see them. And he said, I used to love coming to these suburbs with beautiful green trees and lovely
just
roads.
A disaster now.
But actually, he said, I turn down rides here, especially if it's raining.
Sure.
How sad is that? But, and residents themselves are now paying for these potholes to be fixed above their taxes.
All right, here's something awful. What has 24 eyes and is one of the world's deadliest animals with a sting that's so venomous that it could kill a human in minutes? 24 eyes. This sounds like one of those biblical monsters. It's like the monster of Revelation with 14 eyes and 23 wings and 17 penises, and it'll come out from under your bed when you don't expect it to, and it'll bite you. What is it?
Can you imagine what it is?
It's probably a spider.
Do spiders have 24 eyes?
I think
that's gross.
Probably some kind of crawling creature that has 24 eyes. Did
What
you
if
just
I
show the
said-
picture? Did you spoil it? No, okay.
What if I said it was not on land?
Oh, shit. I hope it's not in the sky because that'll be terrifying. So it's in the water?
It's in the sea.
Okay.
Do you just want me to let you know?
Yeah, because I don't know a lot of sea creatures. You know how I feel about that. Humans should not be venturing into the ocean.
A bunch of liberals in a bus.
That's probably a good guess, actually, Sila. I'd go with that. Tell us.
Is it the ANC top 6 and their spouses?
24 and they would have a deadly bite, yeah.
No, it is this animal.
Oh, no. It's like a jellyfish type
It's a
thing.
box jellyfish.
Okay.
One of the deadliest animals in the world. Considered the most venomous creature
Congo Chris
in the world.
guessed it. Where are its 24
wow.
fucking eyes, though? I don't see any eyes.
It depends. Those vary in size from like a centimeter by a centimeter cube.
Yeah.
To really enormous.
So in
and
other
the
words,
little ones do as much damage because they've got just as long tentacles.
So you wouldn't know. Who would see that?
You could
put
maybe
that
not
in your
see
pool
it.
and you wouldn't know it was there.
Yeah.
Shit. Don't know if I like that.
Pretty scary. So what happens is, where do they live firstly? Shallow
Australia.
coastal areas. Australia and the Indo-Pacific. You knew it.
Okay.
They have been found in waters shallower than 5 meters.
Oh my
These
God.
enormous ones, but have been found over 50 meters deep.
Yeah.
As their name suggests, they've got these kind of square, boxy shapes, but a lot of them are completely transparent, so you would not see them. Why are we going into the sea still, Australia?
I don't know. But Virus says it's a dust jellyfish. Look at that thing. You wouldn't see those tentacles.
No, you wouldn't.
What do you call them? Tendrils. What do you even call those things? It's terrible. Each tentacle has around 5,000 stinging cells that the ocean creature uses to protect itself or attack its prey. Oof.
So most species of jellyfish don't have eyes at all.
Yeah.
But these have 24. They're arranged in 4 groups called Rapalia of 6 eyes, with each bunch sitting on a stalk on a corner of their bell. Some of these eyes are simple light detectors, while others, actually the upper ones, point upwards to give them a 180-degree view.
Oh, that's a horrible creature.
Not only that, but most jellyfish are propelled, they don't self-propel, they move with the tide.
Oh, yeah.
This one can self-propel at a big speed.
Oh, so it can come towards
It can come at
It
you.
can get you.
It's going to get you.
It's going to get you.
Yeah.
Fucker.
Okay, why are they
Hate
so
this thing.
dangerous?
Well, the poison.
With all of the poison.
Why are they so dangerous? I love who wrote this article. Some
No,
nursery
this
school
is
teacher.
explaining what
And
happens.
Why are they so poisonous? Why are they so dangerous? Because of the poison and the eyes.
Their tentacles contain stinging cells called cnidocytes.
Oh,
Cnidocytes? Cnidocytes.
You're not winning this creature over to me.
They're curled
You're
up
really not.
inside a tiny part of these cells with harpoon-like structures called nematocysts, waiting for the signal to release their fury. So basically, these barbed nematocysts act like a dart and they release their toxin. So basically, these proteins that are in this toxin wreak havoc with your body. They create holes all over in your cells, causes pain, scarring, headaches, vomiting, anxiety, sweating, difficulty breathing, increased blood pressure. A sting from an Australian box jellyfish can cause death within 5 minutes. You don't even get to go to the shore.
Horrible. What a horrible thing. I tell you what, just as there are people who go, oh, the world is so beautiful. And I took pictures of some amazing, amazing sunsets over the course of this weekend.
Yeah.
There's something about like an autumn sunset on the sea that's just beautiful. But just as there are beautiful things, there are also just dreadful things like this box jellyfish. You just think, what moment of anger was God in when he decided, here's a box jellyfish? It's a nasty thing.
Horrible. And the
Reminds
bigger
me of-
ones kill and eat turtles.
Oh, that's horrific. And you
Yeah.
can see it being digested. Because
I'm
they're
sure you would,
transparent.
but they probably don't get to eat the shell. They probably just eat the fleshy bits. They mostly eat like shrimp and things like that.
How revolting. Do you remember that version of All Things Bright and Beautiful? You remember, did you ever sing that?
Small, of
Yeah,
course.
you sang that at school, right? All things bright and beautiful. Anyway, there's a much better version that Monty Python did a while ago.
Oh,
It
yes.
reminds me of this box jellyfish. All things dull and ugly, all creatures short and squat, all things rude and nasty, the Lord God made the lot. Each little snake that poisons, each little wasp that stings, he made their brutish venom, he made their horrid wings. All things sick and cancerous, and evil great and small, all things foul and dangerous, the Lord God made them all. Each nasty little hornet, each beastly little squid. Who made the spiky urchin? Who made the sharks? He did. All things scabbed and ulcerous, all pox both great and small, putrid, foul, and gangrenous.
Oh.
The Lord God made them all.
It gets worse and worse.
Yeah, there we
Brilliant.
go. Think about that. Yeah,
Those
I don't want to
squids.
be in the sea.
No, I don't.
I
I
don't
don't
want to
belong
be
in there.
involved. Those
Do
things
not.
they do not like us. So Australia does have the most dangerous animals on earth. Heck, there are even more kangaroos here than there are people, and the poor things get run over all the time. That's Australia, mate, he says. And what's South Africa? What's in South Africa? Still want to go to fucking Australia. There's no reason for that shithole. People are just nasty about Australia this morning. Wow.
Listen, we've got some pretty venomous creatures. We're right up
Oh,
there with
hell
our
yeah.
snakes and things.
Yeah. The grossest animal is a botfly larvae. It burrows through holes somewhere in your body and lays
Yes,
eggs.
it does it to dogs. And I don't know why. Well, I do actually know why, but it's in my algorithm. And they pull them out. The vets pull them out, but they're all like bunched up under their paws and in their
Oh
nose.
no.
They leave this gaping hole.
Sis.
And you actually just squeeze their paws and they start popping out. Oh, so bad.
That's revolting. It's like those videos that people watch and they sometimes send me, and please don't.
Like pimple popping stuff.
Oh, I can't.
This
like-
is that, but like to the
Ugh.
power of 10.
It came up, when you go to search on Instagram, like you're looking for someone because you add them or whatever.
Yeah. You've got to search quickly on that page, otherwise it sucks you in.
And then you get pulled into this thing where there's like some doctor and then they're squeezing stuff.
Yes.
And like these horrible things come out of people.
I enjoy watching those.
No. can't see that. I can't do it.
But
Hey,
the butterfly things
Ah.
are the way they come out in bunches, and if you have that fear, what's it, trichophobia,
trypophobia.
trypophobia, fear of holes,
Yeah.
then you get like a
There's-
double dose.
There's this terrible AI page where they have like eyes within eyes within eyes. It's just, it's horrible. It's just so disturbing. And then this monster that morphs into another monster, and this thing comes out of its mouth, and I can't watch it. Someone showed it to me this weekend. My husband is obsessed with watching those videos of butt flies. I don't know why he doesn't just watch porn like a normal human being. Yeah, I started watching White Lotus this weekend.
From like season 1.
Season 3.
Okay.
And I watched, so season 1, I remember I watched the whole thing.
Yeah.
Season 2, I watched half of it and I got bored.
Yeah.
Season 3, I'm on episode 3.
Okay.
Yeah, it's good. That guy who does it, Mike White or whatever, someone White. Anyway, he's the producer.
Yes.
Very, very clever guy.
Yeah.
And there's always like some underlying plot. There's some revelation that's going to be made clear by the end of the season.
Yes. I haven't started
good.
watching this season yet.
No, it's good. I
but
like
I
it.
got into, is it called The Residence? About a murder in the White House. It's a Shondaland production.
Right. Not because there's this, everyone's talking about adolescence,
Yes.
and everyone's talking about Severance.
Yes.
And then there was Succession a while ago, or something like that. Could have been Succession.
Yeah.
But there are too many shows.
Succession.
I just can't keep up with what's what anymore.
That's
I have to
crazy.
think now, which one is that again? Anyway, get into it. My dog keeps eating my flowers. Where can I get this butt fly? Says Carl.
Ugh,
Ah,
horrible.
yeah. Congo Chris says, I'm with Leigh-Ann. I have a macabre fascination with cyst lancing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm more on Dirk's page here. My friend can watch drains being unclogged for days and days. There are those videos where they find pipes that have just been filled with mud and like leaf mulch and all kinds of things, and then they unblock them and it comes out
shooting
like
out like a turd.
it's revolting.
Yeah.
But it's so satisfying to see these unclogged drains
Yeah.
and like gutters full of leaves or
Yes.
whatever else, and they get cleaned out. I love that. 'Cause
And the
then-
Americans who have these internal like tumble dryer systems, and it gets blocked with like tumble dryer fluff.
oh no,
It comes out of a
that's
huge
disgusting.
loophole out the side of their homes.
Sis.
Mm.
I just watched Mr. Robot for the second time, which is brilliant, says Sharon. And Azalea says, I've been to the land down under and a number of times for work. So I visit the less appealing towns, the less appealing towns in Australia. Well, it's like our less appealing towns. Would you really want to travel
To Harry Smith.
all the way to South Africa and end up in, Kalenzo? No. Said no one ever. I really want to go to Kalenzo. 3 episodes into a Netflix series, and then the gays come out. That's what Vutsako's problem is. The gays. Yeah. Always, because they program the gays in on episode 3. Always episode 3.
These gays, they're trying to kill me.
Yeah, that was episode. Well, that was the last season. Yeah, season 2.
Yeah. I started my mom on season 1.
Yeah.
And I forgot how hectic it was.
No, it's very hectic.
So the part that got her, there she is sitting in her wheelchair in her 70s with her carer next to her, and they've just finished reading the Bible.
Yeah.
And in the first one,
Oh
it's
my God, they
the
finished
husband
reading
thinks
the
he's got testicular cancer.
Yes.
And it doesn't warn you about anything. It just changes scene and goes straight to his fully naked crotch, where he's having a look. And it comes up on TV. My mom screamed, and the carer covered her eyes. So that was the end of that. We didn't watch that anymore.
All right. Well, we've got a guest joining us in a short while. So a couple of things I want to do before we get there. So I know people can't get enough of Elon Musk at the moment. Some people can. But his new company, XAI, has acquired Vine, leading to speculations and excitement within the cryptocurrency community that a potential relaunch of the platform may happen with AI integration. This news has significantly increased the value of the Vine token, with enthusiasts predicting substantial growth and envisioning Vine as a competitor to platforms like TikTok. Do you remember Vine?
Yes, very much so.
Okay, yeah, so Vine, and there was another one that was like they were a bit they were just
Yes.
TikTok. Vine and something else with a V. Yeah, there were
Something
music
else.
ones too, but you know what I'm talking
Yeah, I
about.
do.
But Vine was a
Yeah.
thing before TikTok. So apparently, discussions focus on the integration of AI, blockchain, and social media, with many expressing optimism about Vine's future market cap and its potential integration with other platforms like X. The community's response has been largely positive, with many investing in Vine in anticipation of the success. So I don't know. I mean, maybe
I'm not happy with things integrating with X.
No,
I want to
Yeah.
stay away from X right now.
really, you're not charmed by it at the moment.
Mm-mm.
Not your thing.
No.
Toxic?
Yes, very much so. And I don't know, Pinterest has actually made such a comeback. It's hilarious.
Pinterest?
I promise you, Gen Z is actually getting back into, well, not back into, they're getting into Pinterest. And for a long time, it was, your decorating boards and your
Oh,
fashion
sure.
boards and your architecture
Yeah.
boards. It's becoming a thing again. I think people are actually sick of the politics surrounding platforms like X
No, maybe.
and Facebook.
Yeah, maybe.
So, yeah, that's on the rise, specifically in South Africa. And in fact, the Pinterest team was
Do you have a
recently
Pinterest account?
from like 5FM days.
Oh, really? So you've been on there for years.
but never looked at it
And-
again in between.
So when last did you look at it?
I don't even know if I can still log in.
I had a Pinterest for a while, but I just never really put any effort in. And unless you're on there using it, and
Yes, you
you're
need
actually
to
adding things
use it
that
for
you're
a
interested in,
purpose.
it doesn't make sense to me.
Like if you have your sword collections and your
Yeah. Or
architecture
sure,
board and your,
yeah.
then it can be really nice, and it just gets away from this continuous political rhetoric and all of the poisonous opinions that are there.
the box jellyfish.
The box
of
jellyfish of X
social media.
and
Yeah.
Facebook.
Okay. All right. Well, you'll like our guest for this morning. So Vivian is our guest. She's Vivian Aumuller Perry, and she has a PhD in life, she says. That sounds to me like it's a lot more useful than a PhD in, I don't know,
Bot flies.
philosophy or no, well, you wouldn't have. I don't think you'd have a PhD in butt flies unless
Maybe
you were
butt
serious.
flies.
Maybe butt flies, yeah. But as a youngster, she performed in a circus. Leigh-Ann, your dream
Wow.
job. She worked in a cruise liner and later traveled the globe as a flight attendant. So she's really done a lot.
She's seen
And
a lot.
you get to experience the whole
Yeah.
course of humanity there. After the birth of her daughter, she decided to start her own business, made her first million within a 2-year period.
Jeez.
So she's no slouch. She's written these books. She sent them to me the other day. Turn the page and close the book. But I'm going to leave it to you to talk to her
Mhm.
about the books. We'll get to that in a short while, find out what she's all about. So Vivian, nice to have you on.
Morning.
Morning. Are you in your dressing gown?
Listen, I've got a bet. And when I told everybody, it's my bucket list. You said I've done everything. I've never been on a show in my gown. So everybody went, don't you dare. And I said, you know what? Wait, I'm going to do it. So I don't know. I learned 2 things. It's not that easy to do it. Number 2, I need a new dressing gown. And number 3, in Durban, it is hot as hell, so please can I take it off?
Well, all right. As long as you've got something on underneath there, we don't want to frighten the
No,
children.
it's fine. Thank you, please. I'm struggling here. Really.
Oh, okay. There we go. That's better. All right, but you did it. You've done you won on
Done
the
it.
dare front. Okay, so listen. First of all, this is a hell of a life. So we're going to get you to just explain it in your own words here. You started off in a circus.
It's you know what, I've done so much more in my life, but it's always the one thing that people ask me about. I was 21, and when my father died, we didn't have any money after school.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to travel. So I went for a very brief period to Germany because I could speak German. And I worked for somebody in the South African embassy. And there I learned I knew nothing about our country. It was actually so embarrassing. So when I came back, I came back with a zest. I'm going to learn about this country and places. And I didn't think I'd do well working for other people. So my first job coming back was sort of a waitress somewhere in Durban.
Yeah.
And there was an advert. I don't know. You'll remember we saw adverts.
Yeah.
There weren't internet. And there was an advert to join the circus, I think, as a candy floss operator or something like that. And I went for the interview, and then the one day I got fired by the manager, and on the same day I got a call from them because the dancing girl left in Durban and they needed somebody, and I was the only person she could sort of remember thinking I could do something. And then she said, no, come, we're somewhere in Stanger. And I was like, okay, I'll pack my bags. And I left my mum a note that said, gone, joined the circus. And they thought I was joking. Yeah, so I sort of like joined with no clothes, no pots and pans. But I mean, it was the most amazing time. I got to know the country. I was like a guest in our own country. I loved it. So
I just, whenever anyone says that they were in a circus, I immediately just imagine them on a unicycle with juggling and taming a lion and. All right.
No, you know what? That is true. I think my first job was like the magician's assistant and dancing girls. And I mean, we learned so much. I rode the elephants in my first year. It was incredible.
Did you ever get sawn? Did you ever get sawn in half by the magician?
That's exactly I was impaled by lots of swords. Like, that was the first one I did. Like,
well, they put this unbelievable. And you don't have any scars to prove it, huh?
No, unfortunately not. But I mean, it's years ago. I still have friends that I met that time. It was the Basel Wilkie Circus. They actually went to Corin. They actually I think they're in France at the moment, and Corin Wilkie passed away, I think, a couple of years ago. So,
it's an amazing thing that like circuses used to be a big part of what entertained us. I just don't know how many people in the world are still interested in circuses. I'm glad to hear they're still going, but there we are. All right, so let's just fast forward a little bit. Then you ended up working, as many people do, on cruise liners and planes. But the most amazing thing about that is that I suppose you get to know people and you get to figure out very quickly who's who in the zoo, what people's motives are. We were talking to Dr. Hanan in the first hour this morning about how, people love giving advice. They just don't like taking it. But
I loved what he said. And by the way, thank you. He did a lot of, we touched on subject of moving out of your comfort zone, which is why I wrote the book, and to embrace change. And what he said is true. My thing is people have to be ready for it as well. You can't give advice. I believe a lot of it is like self-expression and how you want to better yourself. So self-evaluation, looking at where you can be a better person. So I like advice when I ask for it, if it makes sense, or if I pay somebody to give me advice. Yet I'm here this morning.
Advice. Listen, I'm kind of hoping you can give us some advice because you've written these books, but you care about embracing change at any age. So a lot of people who are perhaps in their 40s, 50s, 60s, they go, I am what I am. I'm not going to change now. This is what you get. There's no reason for me to adapt. There's no reason for me to make myself uncomfortable. I want to be within my comfort zone all the time. You know what I'm talking about.
I don't care what other people think.
I don't care what other people think. And especially, I think this is true more for men who become habitual and boring and predictable. Is that there's space for change. You can still become better. You can still improve. You can still make yourself more interesting and useful in the world by just accepting that you can change at any age?
You know, there are two parts. The one is if you're comfortable with where you are, I mean, it's a wonderful place to be. If you're happy in your soul and your mind and you have a beautiful life and everything's, you're grateful. I mean, I don't think you need change if you don't really want to. But it's when you have that little voice speak into your heart and say, you know, but I've had an amazing life. And I found now I'm at an age where you're either semi-retired, and I got so bored, almost like depressed, because I mean, I know that there's so much more that we can do. So when we get older, what happens is that we've had our comfort zone for so long. I mean, whether your kids were at school, my first big change came when my daughter left school, and I ended up with, I'm not lying to you, complex PTSD. I was in hospital, and I literally, you can either then be, I was forced to change because I had to sell everything.
Yeah.
So that's a different scenario where, I mean, when you are forced to change, you don't have a choice. You have to make changes. You're
Right.
thrown into it. So you can't even make that decision yourself. And that happens a lot, like in our country, where you lose a job, or you're forced, or you lose a partner. And then I think for the older generation, but I heard the other day, it's even young people, it's so difficult because you're in this cocoon and your body is used to just what you know. And the minute you step out of it, it's like fear, anxiety. I mean, I cannot tell you how I struggled. And when, like you said, when I was 20, I could join the circus. I went overseas. I mean, I flew all over the world. And you'd think that I'd be able to recreate that. Listen, it was so difficult. I ended up with, I never knew what anxiety was until then, and it's just my body telling me, no, you're not, like, it doesn't want it to. You're kicking like that donkey you're talking about.
So, all right. I mean, it's very difficult to actually embrace change and to get things changing. And I suppose that's what unnatural birth is all about. But when you actually have changes thrust upon you in your life, you don't have much of an option. Like, you know, a parent dies, a child is born, a job is lost, a house, you move houses, you give up on a certain career path and you take on another one. So I think for many of us, you don't have the option of choosing some of these things. They happen to you. Do you think that results in the same kind of positive change for most people? Or do you think that for some, it's just a trauma and they end up with that anxiety you were talking about and they don't ever actually progress from there?
That's where I think Dr. Hanan said where change is so difficult, because you're thrown into it and you have to make that change. And the reason I wrote this is when you're so overwhelmed and fearful and anxiety, I mean, they can't live on the same plane as creativity to think.
No.
Desperation repels. What I wanted to say as well, you can't think. And what I'm saying is, it's, you're so fearful, you don't know what to do, and then you can try and read a book. It doesn't work because it's so difficult. And I went through this journey, and I said, look, that's what I wanted to document, is when you go through it, I want something that's easy, achievable, easy steps. If you fall down, you can get back up and then just go again, and make it fun. I think now lately I started like really having a lot of fun with it, but make it fun and just help people in that time frame, with just easy steps. It's okay, you know what, you're allowed to feel those feelings. But I mean, I find it extremely difficult. I mean, I still fall down every now and then. Like I wake up on this, I go, oh my word, like, you know, I'm not good enough. And we all feel that. So I just
Vivian,
want to bring a little bit of light, you know.
So let me ask you about this, because change, if you're going to make changes and embrace them at any age, I think it probably starts with little things, right? So let's just look at some examples. So if, for example, you know, my business partner says he brushes his teeth with his other hand, just so that he can rediscover how hard it is. Because we go through these things all the time where we just do the same thing every day for the same reason. And he does these things to kind of just reset the
brain.
And also to kind of bring in new habits and to appreciate the things that you've forgotten, that you take for granted. So there are a number of reasons to do that I haven't got into. But what are the small things that you do to embrace change and that you tell other people to do when they're a bit stuck?
I think the first thing I learned, I actually watched a podcast because I was searching for something. I mean, I love motivational videos, and I was searching. But for me, the breakthrough came when somebody said all it is a habit. And if you can understand it's a habit, like, please understand, for 20 years, if you've got a child, you're doing the same thing, or you've had a partner. It just became a habit, a comfort zone. If you can understand that that is just a habit that you got used to, it doesn't matter how big or how small, that habit can be changed with the tiniest of things. So I think when I learned that and realized this is a habit, I can change a little habit, like what you said, like brushing my teeth differently.
Right.
For me, it was I started walking. I would put my walking shoes on. They are 50 years old though. My Nikes, I think they should be worth it. Fortune, but I literally have one pair of shoes. I'm not lying to you, one pair. And when you look back at photos, I'm like, I think I've had them for 20 years, and I still only have that one pair.
All right,
It's yeah. And then I go down the lift, and then I go, should I go left or right? It's like one decision.
Well, you only have...
I'm lucky. I live in Umshloti, so we are very lucky. Hence I moved here. But it's a little decision, and the walking.
Well, literally there. I mean, you do. It's left or right. There's no. You can't go anywhere else.
If I go straight, I go into the sea. Like some people said, they're going to drive me in there.
Correct. Okay, so
just left or right.
Embrace change at any age. Change little things by intentional action. Let's just talk about authenticity for a second, because this is something I hear all kinds of people saying. The most inauthentic people I've ever met are talking about authenticity the whole time. You know, it's so important to be authentic. And I'm like, but you're just a carbon cutout of everyone else in your fucking office. You're not interesting. How can you pretend that you're authentic? And everybody says they want this, Vivian, but they don't really, because when they meet authenticity, they like... You know, I mean, I gave props to old women for not being like old men and being stuck in their habits and being boring. But women say they want authenticity, but when they get it, they're all pissed off with you because you said something that's true, or you're being authentic. And they're like, why did you have to say that? That's so mean. You know what I'm talking about?
You know, exactly. Actually, that's how, you know why I like you, is because you say it as it is. You call a spade a spade.
Yeah.
I mean, I love it. I love people that are controversial or just being themselves. I read that authenticity is 4 times more powerful than love. I mean, if you're authentic, you will shine through. It doesn't matter. And I get called out a lot. I've got a very, it's a new word, you know, that I've learned.
Yeah.
It's called demure. I've got, you know, there's like so many demure people, you know, we only go to the best restaurants. But I mean, I love them. You know what? It's your life. It is. But my demure friend is demure. She's authentic. So she shines through. She does extremely well in business. So I love all people, but I'm just not that person. Like I enjoy having fun and being crazy. So I've been called out that I shouldn't act this way. You know, it's like really not. It's, you know, it's
who tells you that? I'm curious. Who would say that?
I would say because it's not natural what I do and how an author should behave. But come on, I worked in a circus. I had a good life. Why should I retire? And if I like you know what? I want to. We're going to start doing a series where we're going to start fishing with people. Things we haven't done. You know, ride on bicycles. On, you know, try stand-up paddles. You know, we should enjoy it and have fun. I mean, that's where I'm going to my area. And I thought, I'm not giving up. I mean, I don't care how many wrinkles I have. If I want to try surfing, I'm going to. So,
listen.
I think people are scared to put themselves out there. Does that make sense?
Yeah, because they're worried about what other people think. So if you want to be authentic, you have to stop caring what other people think. And in doing that, you may have to sacrifice some popularity and some comfort because when you are authentic, you have to stand on your own 2 feet, and there are going to be people who disagree with you, which means you're going to be leading yourself into conflict a lot of the time. People don't understand that. They go, I really love authentic people. You say to them, no, you don't. You like people who just toe the line. You don't know what authentic means.
You're going to meet your tribe. You're going to meet
please.
people that's like you. I mean,
a lot
you
of
can't be that.
nonsense.
I can't try and be. Sorry, I feel very uncomfortable. It was even like deciding, how am I going to dress up? It's
What,
like
for
very
this show?
serious. I'm going on a YouTube.
What, for this
like
show?
on YouTube. If I can tell you how many people were so scared because I was going to wear my pajamas. And even this morning, because of what they told me, I woke up, I thought, oh no.
All right.
Like I can't.
I mean,
and then I thought, no, stuff it. If I feel like I want to do it,
all right.
I'm going to do it.
So
it's
tell me about you for a second, because I mean, you do seem to be a bit of a rule breaker, and you do seem to be one of these people who's a little bit left field. So what sort of crazy shit have you got up to in your life? I mean, I want to know what you, especially when you're on the ships or in the planes or in the circus, like what kind of wild, insane stuff did you get up to?
I think that's what I'm trying to say. When I was young, I had such an amazing life, and now that I'm older, like I'm supposed to sit and write books. Yes, I really want to help people, but I want to help them in a fun way and start doing crazy again. So I mean, in the circus, I think we did Namibia, right? And I actually got engaged to one of the walkies because he had a nicer caravan. Because we were living in Swallow, like in these little.
So you got engaged.
Like when you join, and his name is Walter Walkie. Thank goodness he's not here anymore. But I mean, he had a nice caravan because he was a Wilkie, or like he was the cousin of the cousin of.
Yeah.
And I would stay with him because I mean he was a nice guy, but he just had a bigger caravan. And then we would. I mean, it was just the dancing girls. I mean, Namibia was excellent. I mean, it's just, I think, and the weird thing is I never worry about money. I just had the best time of my life. Even, this boat thing, it was a half-ton passenger liner and a cargo ship.
That sounds horrific.
I will never forget, was it Black Sambuca was extremely cheap. And we would drink Black Sambuca and orange juice. And we were on our way to Kenya, and we drank so much, we threw the deck chairs overboard, but we didn't realize we were in the harbor. So the captain came, and the deck chairs were floating in the harbor, and we were all fired. And we were like, okay, how do we get home now? And I polished brasso. I wasn't paid. I polished brasso.
Yeah.
The entire way back until I had to come back to South Africa. I mean, it's just. I'm actually now thinking about it. I mean, it's shocking. But I mean, I think I worked for SAA, and all my jobs have been because I spoke German, and I was working for, I think, Thompson's in Durban or something, and they said to me, but I was like 33 at the time.
Yeah.
And they said, you know what, you should go and work for SAA because they're looking for, people that can speak a language. So I think they took in 4,000 crew that could speak French, and I mean, I was a German one.
Right.
I mean, the stuff we did, every town you went to, they would give us dollars, for every day in something. And then Sundays we'd have like a 10-day, a 4-day. I mean, nowadays they make you stay 2 days in a country, they make you fly back. But we would get dollars, and I'd be so excited when we had the days because it just meant more money. I could go and see more stuff.
Right.
So the traveling part came from there. But I mean, I think you should live your life like that. It doesn't matter what job you have. You should just try and find enjoyment.
I want to ask you about one last thing, which you cover in the book, and you talk about breaking free from victimhood, which I'm totally on your side about. This is not a surprising thing. It should be in everyone's universe. It should be a guiding principle for just about everybody. The moment you become a victim and you allow yourself to be thought of as a victim, and you start getting addicted to other people's compassion, sympathy, and you put yourself in a position where that's you become it's a
thrive off of
necessary
it.
it's a necessary part of your day, then you are doomed, because from that moment on, the thrill that you get out of being sympathized with, for want of a better term, becomes more valuable to you than the thrill of success or of making a difference in other people's lives. You become very much more self-involved, and it's just a spiral to the bottom. How for you did breaking free from victimhood become an important part of the discussion? And is there a personal story, or is there a reason that that's an important thing to you?
You know, before I can tell you my personal story, what aggravates me, I think, even we're not going to politics, but what I want to say is the whole country is in this thing of victimhood.
Yeah.
Let's place the blame on somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
The good thing I want to say is, if you use, you know, look at countries all over the world. I mean, there are people with worse stories than ours. I mean, there are people with no homes, countries that are being bombed, and we want to carry on about, oh, it's not my fault,
Yeah.
you know, being indoctrinated. You can use that to feel whatever it is that you want to do. I mean, what happened to me as a child is that we're talking sort of abuse when I was 5, that I do not have a memory of until I was in matric. So in my subconscious, the minute my daughter was born, something very weird happened, because I suppressed all the memories. I mean, they had to hypnotize me to find out what happened to me. But I'm not playing the victim. All I'm saying is that it fueled me in such a way when my daughter was born to say, no person or country or government, nobody is going to stand. I'm going to stand by myself. I'm going to make my own money. It fueled me. So if you can just find something, you know what, bad things happen to us, everybody in this country. We are not unique, or I'm not unique.
No, absolutely.
But use that as to fuel you to say, because you need something so strong. When the first little hurdle comes, you need to get over that hurdle. And it served me so well to do well for my child. I mean, I'm living the life, but it is because of what happened to me. And I'm not apologizing. I'm just saying it served me. I'm not
also,
grateful,
I mean,
I used it.
But these days, if I have to hear one more sob story, I mean, it became all the rage. Do you remember during the 2010s till about 2015, where every single person was suddenly unburdening themselves about all the shit that had happened to them? I don't care that your uncle fingered you when you were 6. It's none of my fucking business. I don't want to know about that, right?
Oh, Lordy.
Don't you agree,
We
Leigh-Ann?
need, your energy needs to be, you know, we need to do uplifting shows, like uplift people. I mean, more fun and laughter. I mean, the world's bad enough as it is. And I think just find some happiness and joy in your life. And if you can just find the happiness and the joy, it uplifts your vibrations. And then you attract more people to you, because you're such a fun person, and then great things happen to you.
Okay, but hang on, because Leigh-Ann didn't even answer me. So don't you agree that nobody cares?
No, I think that time was important, because for too long people were saying nothing, and the cyclical abuse was carrying on without anyone saying anything. Because I think it needed to come out. We needed to have a safe space in which we could share our feelings and say what had happened to us, and show on the bear where we were touched. But yes, you may not want to hear about it, but I might need to tell someone. But I'm not going to tell you.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'm not the guy to tell.
No,
That's
you're
all.
not the guy to tell. That's all.
No, you're not the guy to tell, but I do agree that it needs to come out, because if people didn't speak up and have the courage, we wouldn't know how prevalent it is. We would never know. So it takes courage to do these things and stand up.
Yeah.
So I won't use my psychologist, that's for sure.
No.
I'll upset them horribly, and then they won't want to be a psychologist anymore. The only one who survived is Dr. Hanan. Congo Chris says it's called trauma dumping for a reason. It's your shit. Yeah, I think maybe Leigh-Ann is right. I mean, it does make sense what you're saying about how there was a need at the time for people to open up, be vulnerable, let it out, all that kind of thing. I just think it got to a point where it was completely self-absorbed. And people were just going round and round in circles, sharing stories about all the shit things that had happened to them. And the reality is that in the world, very few people are thinking about you and your problems. First of all, they're not thinking about you. Second of all, they're not thinking about your problems. And it just seems to me like it's self-indulgent in a very, very bad way. So I like the fact that you included this victim mentality stuff. All right. So if people are interested in what you're talking about, where can they find out more? And tell us about the book in general so that you can just point it at the right people, the people who need to read these books.
Thank you. Can I just make a comment on what you said? You know about I think why you don't like people dumping their problems. It's also about the energy, and it's, it depends on what your majority or your emotional status. If it's permanently negative, it's not wonderful. But I mean,
I just genuinely don't care. Like, I just have no time for it at all. I'm a happy person, and I don't want you bringing me down with your story about your uncle when you were 6. Nobody cares.
Okay. Point
That's all.
taken. So, the sun's coming up on my side now. Can you see the suns?
Yeah, we can. There we go.
Really lovely. So for me, it is if you're going through a difficult time, and you know you're unhappy, and you know that it could have been. Please understand, I'm not a psychologist. This is just like what you said, a PhD in life.
Sure.
I developed a 7-step series that is really easy to read. It's even 100 pages. And I take you step by step. And it's about walking every day, intentional walking. Because my entire book was written walking on the beach, asking questions before I start and say, I'm struggling with this. By the time I got back, I promise you, I had all the answers. I mean, I can show you my entire book was written in a normal book that I just wrote every day, found the
by
answers
hand
in like just walking, because walking is almost like meditation, because you're looking at the plants, it gives you time to think, and all the answers are really within you. You just have to analyze them and find an easy way to do it. So can you see my little book? My daughter even designed the cover.
Oh, nice. It's a family affair.
Say again?
It's a family affair. I like this.
Yeah, it's the expensive school fees, She's at varsity now.
You had to get something back out of her, yeah.
Like, I thought I was done after school, and then it's like, oh no, shit, now we've got
Didn't it worry you calling it unnatural birth, that people would think that it was like about C-sections or something?
You know what? I wanted to call the book Happy Human, How to Be a Happy Human. And I never knew what it was like to have anxiety. And my daughter said to me, but Mom, you make it sound so simple. It's actually so difficult when you've got anxiety. And I couldn't understand this anxiousness until I had it myself. And she said, it's not easy. Like, you're making it sound like it's easy. And a natural birth came when I was actually walking, and I was like, how can I explain to people it's about your comfort zone? So when you want to give birth, like a woman could give birth, think of an alien or a guy, you can't push out a baby. It's like so unnatural. So that is the courage and the energy it takes to move out of that comfort zone in order for you to give birth to a new idea or a new dream that you want. It is not easy. It takes hard work, but I'm trying to make it as easy as possible. So unnatural is just, it's not natural. When I did a show and I make the guys,
I mean, it would have obviously been more disturbing if you'd had like a massive vagina on the cover or something. So.
I think it would have sold better, I suppose.
No, I don't think. I think it would have frightened away perhaps the people you're trying to reach here. I think this is great. Listen, I love the fact that it is 2025. You're able to self-publish a book that probably will help lots of people. Yes. Because it's not coming from an expert. You know, the experts have been so discredited as well. I would almost rather hear from someone who's been through it themselves and who has some life advice and who has some interesting stories to tell. And that's certainly what you've got, which is why I'm pleased to have you on the show. So well done. And I hope the book goes well. Here, unnatural birth. You can see it behind Vivian over there as well. And on the brink of a breakthrough. Get there. I mean, get to the brink of the breakthrough and then break on through. That's what you got to do.
Yeah, they
Didn't
can
even mean for
you
that
know
to
what?
rhyme,
I'm
but it
also
did.
in the stone ages. You can't find the book on Amazon because I still haven't gotten there. So
where do we
can
find it?
You can email me. Like I need to know who people are.
Okay.
So it's OBS. I'll ask obsupliftment@outlook.com.
No, that's too complicated. We're going to put it in the link.
Is it?
No,
yeah,
it's fine.
We'll put
it as a link at the end of the episode, and then people can find it there as well.
But
You
thank you.
manage
And
that,
then
James.
we were actually, I mean, I'm happy to give away a book to a viewer.
No, I don't want to do. I don't want to do a giveaway. Otherwise,
we'll have to do it later.
I'm not worrying about couriers and all that shit. No, they must pay for your book. No, Vivian, they must pay for your book.
Courier's cheap lately. There are lots of ways.
It's not. I have no interest in getting into couriers. Just like I don't want to know about people being fondled when they were at an inappropriate age. All right, so listen. Well done on the book, and thank you for joining us this morning. And I wish you luck. And Leigh-Ann, show us on the teddy bear where the bad man is. Right?
Listen, before we go, I've got something that I know you'll love.
Oh, go on.
It's the Pentagram Band.
What?
And it just appeared out of nowhere. This is a band. They're called doom metal, American doom metal, heavy metal band.
Yes.
And this video appeared of this guy. This guy has been in this band since 1971 and he's still going.
Is this the one who stares maniacally?
Yes.
Yeah, we've played a clip of him. It's called the
Pentagram Band.
Okay, let's see.
There's the dog. I don't know if you just play maybe play the first clip just to remind anyone who doesn't.
Okay.
And then the dog and then the plaster scene. That would be amazing. Thanks.
Okay. Well, we're going to take it step by step, clearly. It's all right. First, the original clip of the guy, the mad maniacal dude. I think we played this. Yes. Since
1971. Really enjoy this dog here.
All right, I remember him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Who could forget him?
And
He
of
looks
course,
like
the
he's
trend has
possessed.
become a thing, and now everyone's doing their own versions.
Okay.
Somebody submitted their pet.
Okay. Let's see the pet.
Oh,
but
the
there's him.
plasticine one.
Jesus, since 1971.
It's looping. You can stop it now.
Oh, that's great.
Oh, the pet won't. Somebody's pet looks just like him. It's got googly eyes that are like almost out to the side, and these gray fluffy ears, and they're facing into a fan and just staring. Oh gosh! But
right,
yeah,
well,
he's
I
been
like it.
going strong since 1971.
Unbelievable.
The band has changed members many times because everyone else has died. He's the original and only one.
That's unbelievable. Imagine being the other
and
guys.
they're considered like one of the top 5 dooms metal bands in the world.
Really?
Yes.
Doom, do 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 doom, do 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 doom.
So weird.
All right. Very good. Well, we've had some inspiration and some, let's just say, warning signs.
Yes. Warning against gambling, obviously.
Yeah. Jeez, that was very depressing. I don't want to talk about gambling again for months.
Yeah.
But there we are. Lots of interesting things on this morning. And enjoy the last day of March. We will see you on Wednesday.
Dick trying to penetrate inside. They try to go back door with Dick. Dick hard charging to the cup. Dick is going to score.
Dick was coming wide open back door.
Dick couldn't hit it. Dick goes down. Dick rises up. Dick goes down. Mobile win. Dick is out.
Dick struggling big time tonight.